It's that time again for Spanish. And today we're going to be going over what are called reflexive verbs. Okay? Reflexive verbs are kind of tricky for English speakers because we have a couple of different ways of expressing this same idea, and we're not really very consistent with it. So it can be kind of hard sometimes to understand when you're going to be using these in Spanish. Hopefully this video helps clear some of that up. Okay? First off, a reflexive verb is used when a person or people, okay, are doing an action to themselves or for themselves. Okay? For example, when you go in and wash your hands, okay, who's doing the washing? Well, you are. And who is being washed? Well, you are. Okay? And that makes this a reflexive verb. Now this works in all the different forms. If I'm washing my hands, okay, that makes it a reflexive verb. If there are a whole bunch of us and we're all washing our hands because we love doing that, that's a reflexive verb. If you got a bunch of friends over there and they're washing their own hands, that's a reflexive verb. Okay? So, again, a reflexive verb is when a person is doing the action to or for themselves. Or in the case of plural people, themselves. Okay? So, some verbs are used both reflexively and not reflexively. And the verb lavar is a perfect example, not just because it's, easy to use, but it's also short. You don't have to write a lot. I mean, it's really quick to do. So that's why most teachers like to use this verb. So the verb lavar, if I just say lavar, I'm talking about somebody or something washing somebody or someone else. Okay? So for example, if you go and wash your dog, that's lavar. Okay? Because you're doing the washing, but who's getting washed? The dog. So it's not reflexive. Same thing if I were to wash my car, which I probably need to do. Okay, I'm the one doing the washing, but the truck is getting washed. So that's just straight up lavar. It's not reflexive. However, this verb over here, lavarse. See that se on the end? Okay, if you look it up in a dictionary and you see that se on the end, that tells you that this is can be used as a reflexive verb. In this case, this verb lavarse is a reflexive verb. Okay, and that means that person, again, doing the washing is washing themselves, okay? The way to do this is actually pretty simple. You're going to conjugate the verb just like normal, okay? There's nothing different about the endings on these verbs. Oh, and by the way, these reflexive verbs can be used in all the tenses, okay? I'm giving you the present tense, but this could be the preterite, this could be the imperfect, the subjunctive mood, anything like that, okay? I'm just using the present tense just because that's the easiest, okay? So, we've conjugated lavo, lavas, lava, lavamos, lavais, in case you're in Spain, and lava. Okay? Now, that would just mean, as it's written now, that would just mean, I'm washing something or someone else. What makes it different is this little guy on the end. This is called a reflexive pronoun. And I've got my way neato reflexive pronouns all listed right here. And hopefully you can see that. It's in green. I think you can still see it, but I'll say it just in case. Me, for me. Te, for the two form. Se for él, ella, usted. Nos for nosotros. If you're in Spain, it's os for vosotros. And if you wanted to talk about they or you guys, okay, it'd be se. So here's how it works, okay? If I want to say I wash myself, whatever it is, okay, I'm going to take this me and I'm going to put it right here. Me lavo, okay? And then I'm going to say the part of me that I'm washing. Now, because we already have the me here, in English we'd say I wash my hands, okay? But in Spanish, we've already got this me there, so we just leave that, okay? And that indicates that we're washing myself. So in Spanish, they would say me lavo las manos. They use a definite article in front of that, okay? And I know that translates literally to I wash myself the hands, but that's how they do it in Spanish, okay? Don't say me lavo mis manos. That's a no-no, okay? Me lavo el pelo. I wash myself the hair. Okay, don't say me lavo mi pelo. Okay, that's redundant. If I wanted to say you wash, I take the te, put it right there. Te lavas, and whatever it is that you wash. Se lava would be he washes or she washes, or you in the usted form, wash. Nos lavamos, put it right up here in front. That's we wash. Okay. Os lavais, in case you're in Spain, would be ye wash yourselves somewhere. And then se lavan would be they wash. Okay? Now, this is where you put the pronoun when you have just a regular present tense. But what happens if you have a sentence like this? Quiero lavar. You want to say, I want to wash my hands. Okay? This is a little bit different. Now, if you've watched my other video on you'll know that this is a conjugated verb, and this is an infinitive, okay? We have two different verbs in this sentence. So in a sentence like, and same thing down here. Estoy is a conjugated verb. Lavando is a present participle. And you'll know from that other video that in Spanish you can put these reflexive pronouns, they're just like object pronouns in terms of placement, where you put them. We have the option to put it up here. I can say, me quiero lavar, or I can tack it right on the end, say, quiero lavarme. Either way is fine, okay? You can go in front of the conjugated verb or tacked right onto the end of the infinitive. Either one is great. No one's going to mock you. No one's going to sit there and go, oh, don't hang out with him. He puts his reflexive pronouns tacked onto the end of the infinitive. Ew. No, nobody does that. They're exactly the same, okay? Same thing with this sentence. Estoy lavando. I am washing, okay? If I want to say I'm washing my hands, hey, what are you doing in there? Well, I'm washing my hands, okay? I can put the reflexive pronoun up here. Me estoy lavando. Or I can take it, I'm going to walk over to this side, even though I go off the screen. Ooh, where'd that hand come from? I can tack it right there. Be careful though. If you do this, you have to put an accent. That's the world's worst accent. You have to put an accent over that A. Okay? And either one works. Me estoy lavando las manos or estoy lavándome las manos. Either one is just peachy. Okay? Now the last thing I got to talk about is this box down here, and I put a box around it to remind myself to talk about it. There are times when reflexive verbs are used as what are called reciprocal reflexives. And if you know the meaning of the word reciprocal, it means, you know, there's an equal exchange. It goes back and forth, okay? A reciprocal reflexive is used only with these three forms of the verbs, and there's a reason for that. It's because two or more people are doing the action to each other. Okay, so it's a reciprocal action. You know, the whole idea of I'll scratch your back, you scratch mine, that's a reciprocal action. Okay? What happens if you have two people who are, let's say, kissing? Okay? Now, kiss is not generally used as a not generally used as a reflexive verb, unless you're James Brown, you do the whole jump back, kiss myself, die, that kind of thing. If you don't know who James Brown is, Google it. Anyway, so you don't generally kiss yourself. But what happens if two people are kissing each other? Okay, we could say, for example, the verb is besar. We say they kiss. Now that would be this form down here, besan. Okay, if we just say ellos besan, that technically would mean that they're just going around kissing things. Okay, now most people would understand what you're talking about, but technically, you know, if I just said ellos besan, it's like, hey, they kiss doors, birds, trees, whatever. Okay, but if I put the reflexive pronoun in front of it, se besan, okay, now it's understood that they're kissing each other. Okay, and that's why we call it a reciprocal reflexive. You also know why we have to use only these three forms of the verb, because these are plural. Okay, you can't do something reciprocal with a singular noun, a singular subject. Okay, so another one would be to hug. Okay, the verb is abrazar, abrazar. Okay, if I said, oh, we hug, okay, we're hugging each other. Abrazamos is the present tense form of that verb, and if I put the word nos up in front of that, nos abrazamos, we hug each other. Okay, and there are a lot of verbs that you wouldn't think of as being reflexive that can be used this way. For example, ayudar, to help. Okay, if I said nos ayudamos, well, we help each other. Nos respetamos, we respect each other. Nos apoyamos, again, we support each other. All of those are what we call reciprocal reflexive verbs. And that's good to know because you're going to look up in the dictionary, you're going to Google it, and you're going to get all these verbs that can be used either normally or reflexively, and you're going to say, well, that's weird. That doesn't seem like a reflexive verb, okay? But you're using it as a reciprocal reflexive instead, okay? And that is my little spiel, my little tirade on reflexive verbs. Hope it was helpful. And it's